The ships appeared in Earth's sky on a Tuesday morning. They were massive, silver things that reflected sunlight like mirrors. People around the world stopped what they were doing and stared upward. For 3 days, the ships just floated there, silent and waiting. Then, they sent a message. Commander Jake Morrison was the first human to speak with them. He sat in a white room at the United Defense Force headquarters, looking at a screen where an alien face appeared. The creature called itself Kelthax. It had smooth, gray skin, large black eyes, and a mouth that barely moved when it spoke. Its voice came through a translator device, sounding calm and friendly. "We are the Vethri," Kelthax said. "We travel the stars and collect information about life. We have visited 1,000 worlds. We mean no harm. We only wish to study and preserve." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "What exactly do you want to study?" "Your planet has remarkable diversity," Kelthax replied. "Plants, animals, insects. We would like to take samples. Small numbers. We will document them and keep them safe in our archives. This is an honor. We only select the most interesting worlds." The words sounded reasonable. Jake talked with his superiors. They talked with world leaders. Scientists were excited. Maybe these aliens could teach humanity new things. Maybe this was the start of a great friendship among the stars. After 2 months of meetings and discussions, Earth agreed. The Vethri could take limited samples of plants and animals. They signed agreements. They made promises. The Vethri began their work. Their smaller ships landed in forests, deserts, oceans, and mountains. They collected butterflies in South America. They documented rare flowers in Asia. They studied fish in the deep ocean. Teams of human scientists watched them carefully. Everything seemed proper and organized. But then the Vethri became interested in dogs. Amy Peterson was a scientist assigned to watch the Vethri at a collection site in Colorado. She was young, only 26 years old, with red hair that she kept in a tight ponytail. She loved her job, and she loved her golden retriever named Copper, who waited for her at home each night. Amy started noticing something strange. The Vethri spent hours watching dogs. They filmed dogs playing in parks. They recorded dogs working with police officers and soldiers. They seemed fascinated by the way dogs and humans interacted. "Why so much attention on dogs?" Amy asked one of the Vethri workers. The alien tilted its head. "The bond is unusual. In all our travels, we have never seen 2 species connect like this. It is scientifically valuable. Ever with you, teen." There wasn't 2-5 the redder lay. Amy felt uneasy but reported it to her supervisors. They told her not to worry. The Vethri were just being thorough. They were scientists. After all, 3 months after the Vethri arrived, Jake Morrison woke up to his phone ringing. It was 4 in the morning. The voice on the other end was panicked. "Sir, we have a situation. A global situation." Jake dressed quickly and drove to headquarters. When he arrived, the command center was chaos. Screens showed news reports from every country. People were crying, shouting, demanding answers. The dogs were gone. All of them. Every single dog on planet Earth had vanished during the night. Jake felt his stomach drop. He had a dog too, a small terrier named Scout. He called his wife. She was crying. "Scout's gone," she sobbed. I woke up, and his bed was empty. The door was locked. The windows were closed. He just disappeared. It was the same story everywhere. Family pets gone from locked houses. Service dogs vanished from beside their sleeping owners. Police dogs disappeared from secure kennels. Farm dogs, show dogs, shelter dogs, strays on the street. 900 million dogs. Gone without a trace. The Vethri ships began moving. They rose higher into the atmosphere. Jake ran to the communication center and opened all channels. "Kelthax, what have you done? Return the dogs immediately." There was silence for a long moment. Then Kelthax's face appeared on the screen. The alien looked different now. Less friendly. Almost smug. "The canines are specimens of unprecedented value," Kelthax said. "The bond between your species is the most remarkable thing we have found in 10,000 years of collecting. They will be preserved and studied. You should feel honored." "Honored?" Jake's voice rose. "You stole them. We had an agreement. The agreement allowed us to collect samples we deemed scientifically important. We have deemed canines important. They are already in stasis. They will not be harmed. This is preservation, Commander Morrison. This is what we do." "Bring them back," Jake shouted. "Impossible. Our work is done here. Farewell, humans. Your contribution to galactic knowledge will be remembered." The screens went dark. The Vethri ships accelerated upward. Within an hour, they were gone, jumping to faster-than-light speed. They left Earth behind and took the dogs with them. Jake stood in the command center and looked at the faces around him. Hardened military officers had tears in their eyes. A general who had fought in 3 wars was openly crying. The world changed overnight. Cities that never stopped moving became quiet. People walked around like ghosts, searching for something that wasn't there. Parks that used to be full of dogs playing now stood empty. The silence was strange and wrong. Ryan Martinez was a retired Army captain. He was 42 years old, with gray starting to show in his dark hair. He had served 3 tours in difficult places and came home with memories that haunted him. His military dog, a German shepherd named Buddy, had retired with him. For 5 years, Buddy helped Ryan live a normal life. When nightmares came, Buddy was there. When panic started to rise, Buddy pressed against his leg and brought him back to the present. Now Buddy was gone, and Ryan felt like he was drowning again. He wasn't alone. Millions of people felt the same crushing loss. Support hotlines were overwhelmed with calls. Schools brought in counselors to help children who couldn't understand where their dogs went. Therapy groups formed in every neighborhood. But talking didn't help much. The emptiness remained. Ryan started attending town hall meetings. Other people were there too, all of them angry and hurt. A woman named Sophie stood up and spoke with tears running down her face. "My daughter has autism," she said. Her service dog, Bailey, was the only thing that helped her feel safe in crowds. Now she won't leave the house. She just sits by the door waiting for Bailey to come home. An old man named Henry raised his hand. "My wife died last year. Our beagle, Daisy, was all I had left. We got her as a puppy 20 years ago. She was part of our family. Now I wake up and she's not there, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do." Ryan stood up. His voice was rough but steady. "We need to do something. We can't just accept this." A government official at the front of the room shook his head. "We're trying. We've sent messages to the Vethri. They won't respond. We don't know where they went. We don't have ships that can follow them." "Then we build ships," Ryan said. "We find them. We get our dogs back." People started nodding. The idea spread like fire. Town halls across the world echoed with the same demand. Do something. Go after them. Bring them home. Lisa Hammond was the director of the Global Defense Council. She was a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had spent her career preparing for potential threats from space. She never imagined the threat would be thieves who stole beloved animals. Lisa called an emergency session. Representatives from every nation came. The meeting room was packed. Usually these sessions involved hours of debate and disagreement. This time was different. "The situation is clear," Lisa said. "The Vethri have committed an act that every person on Earth feels personally. They have united us in anger. The question is, what do we do about it?" A representative from China stood. "We have a moral obligation to respond. These were not wild animals. These were members of families." A representative from Brazil agreed. My government supports any action necessary. Military action, if needed. One by one, every nation spoke. The message was the same. Go after them. Use force. Bring the dogs home. The vote was unanimous. Earth would marshal its resources and go to war if necessary. Ben Carter was a scientist who studied the stars. He was 38 years old, thin and tall, with messy brown hair and glasses that were always sliding down his nose. He had never expected to work on a military project. But when Lisa Hammond called him, he didn't hesitate. Can you track them? Lisa asked. Ben looked at the data from the Vethry ships. Their engines left traces in space, a kind of signature made of exotic particles. With the right equipment, maybe he could follow that trail. I can try, Ben said. But even if I find where they went, getting there is another problem. Our fastest ships would take hundreds of years to reach another star system. Then we need faster ships, Lisa said. How long would it take to build them? Lisa, Ben thought carefully. Humanity had been experimenting with new engine designs, theories about folding space and moving faster than light. They were all just theories. Making them real would require incredible effort and resources. 2 years, Ben said. Maybe 3, if we put everything into it. If every nation shares their research. If we take risks. You have whatever you need, Lisa said. Money, people, facilities, whatever it takes. The world transformed. Factories that made cars started making ship parts. Scientists from competing nations worked side by side. The economy shifted completely. People accepted it without complaint. Everyone understood what was at stake. Jake Morrison was given command of the military fleet. He stood in the construction yard and watched ships being built at an impossible speed. Engineers worked day and night. New weapons were designed. New shields were tested. Everything humanity had learned about war and technology was being poured into these vessels. Katie Silva was one of the engineers. She was 29 years old, strong and determined, with black hair cut short for convenience. She had lost her border collie named Jazz, a dog she had trained to do agility competitions. Jazz was smart and fast and full of joy. Katie channeled her grief into her work. She led a team developing new weapons. They took human nuclear technology and combined it with Vethry energy signatures left at landing sites. The result was devastating. They called the missiles Hellfire. And they could burn through shields that had protected Vethry ships for centuries. Matt Jennings worked on targeting systems. He was a quiet man in his 40s who programmed artificial intelligence. His yellow Labrador named Sunny had helped his son overcome his fear of thunderstorms. Now his son was afraid again, and Matt was angry about it. He created an AI that could adapt faster than any alien shield system. It would learn and change and find weaknesses. It would give human ships an advantage in battle. The Vethry sent a message after 8 months. Kelthax appeared on screens worldwide. He looked confused and slightly worried. "We have been monitoring your activities," he said. "Your military buildup is concerning. We offer a compromise. We will return a breeding population of canines. 500 dogs. You can rebuild your population. In exchange, you will cease your hostile preparations." The answer from Earth was immediate and unified. No. Ryan Martinez gave the speech that became famous. He stood in front of cameras, with millions watching, and said what everyone felt. "You think this is about the species?" Ryan said. "You think we just want dogs in general? You don't understand. You took specific dogs. You took Scout and Buddy and Bailey and Daisy and Jazz and 900 million others. Each one had a name. Each one had a family. You took the reason some people could get out of bed in the morning. You took service dogs from veterans and therapy dogs from kids and companions from lonely people. And you think we'll accept 500 strangers as replacements?" Ryan's voice got harder. "You made a mistake. You thought we were like you. You thought we'd see this as losing animals. You don't understand what dogs are to humans. They're not pets. They're family. They're partners. They're the ones who love us when we're unlovable and stay with us when everyone else leaves. You took something sacred, and you're going to give it back." The Vethri didn't respond again. They retreated into silence. But Earth didn't stop preparing. The ships grew in number. The weapons became more powerful. The determination became absolute. Chris Hayes was an admiral, 60 years old with gray hair and a face carved by years of command. He had fought in naval battles and led men through dangerous missions. His old bloodhound, 2 years after the dogs disappeared, the fleet was ready. 200 warships floated in Earth orbit, dark against the stars. They were massive things, built from the combined effort of every nation. Each one carried weapons designed for a single purpose: to bring humanity's dogs home. The flagship was called Resolve. It was the largest ship ever built, 3 kilometers long, with enough firepower to level a city. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and looked at his crew. There were 400 people aboard, men and women from dozens of countries. They all had one thing in common. They all wanted their dogs back. Ben Carter had successfully tracked the Vethri. Their trail led to a star system 47 light-years away. The journey would take 2 years, even with the new faster-than-light engines. 4 years total since the dogs were taken. It felt like forever. But there was no faster way. Jake addressed the fleet before departure. His face appeared on every screen, in every ship, for every crew member to see. "We're leaving Earth today," Jake said. "We're going farther than humans have ever gone. We're doing it for our dogs, for our families, for the bonds that make us who we are." The Vethri think we're being irrational. They think no species would cross the galaxy for animals. They don't understand that dogs aren't just animals to us. They're pack members. They're partners who trust us completely. We owe them the same loyalty they've always given us. The fleet engaged their engines. Space folded around them in ways that hurt to look at. Reality bent and twisted, and suddenly Earth was far behind. The journey had begun. Life on a ship during a long voyage was strange. Days blurred together. The crew trained constantly. They practiced combat drills. They studied everything known about the Vethri. They maintained the weapons and kept the ship running smoothly. Jake kept everyone focused with simple reminders. Photos of dogs lined the corridors. Each crew member had contributed a picture. The images showed dogs of every size and type. Some photos showed dogs working. Some showed dogs playing. Many showed dogs simply being loved by their humans. Above each photo was a name and a simple phrase: "Waiting for us." Amy Peterson was aboard Resolve as the science officer. She had requested the position specifically. She blamed herself for not seeing what the Vethri were planning. Her golden retriever, Copper, was somewhere in the Vethri system, and Amy intended to get him back. She spent her time analyzing Vethri technology. The aliens had left traces of their shields and weapons at landing sites. Amy studied the energy patterns and looked for weaknesses. She found something interesting. The Vethri shields were powerful but slow to adapt. They could block known weapons easily, but new attack patterns took time to counter. This gave Katie Silva's adaptive weapons a real advantage. 6 months into the journey, something unexpected happened. Long-range sensors detected a signal. It wasn't human. It wasn't Vethri either. It was something else. Dan Cooper was the communications officer. He was 25 years old, the youngest officer on the bridge, with blonde hair and quick fingers that flew across his console. He isolated the signal and put it on the main screen. A new alien face appeared. This one had blue-tinted skin and 4 eyes arranged around a rounded head. Its voice came through, translated but sounded urgent. "Human fleet. This is Vex Thor of the Kizari people. We have been monitoring your journey. We know what the Vethri took from you. They took from us too. We wish to speak." Jake looked at his senior officers. This could be a trap. Or it could be an opportunity. He made a decision. This is Commander Morrison. We're listening. Vexthor explained that the Vethri had been collecting for thousands of years. They took precious beings from dozens of worlds. The Chixari lost their crystalline symbionts, creatures that bonded with them for life. The Hreni lost their flying partners. The Morthan lost their telepathic companions. Each species filed complaints with galactic authorities. None had taken military action. Why not? Jake asked. Fear. Vexthor said simply. The Vethri have defended their home system for centuries. They have weapons and defenses collected from 100 civilizations. Most species lack the military strength to challenge them. Those who have the strength lack the unity. But you, humans, are different. You, unified, completely. You built a fleet in 2 years that would take other species 20 years to assemble. You did it for dogs. They're family, Jake said. We don't abandon family. We understand now, Vexthor said. We wish to help. We have intelligence about the Vethri system. We know their defenses. We know where they keep the collected beings. We want our people back too. If you succeed, will you help free the others? Jake didn't hesitate. Yes, everyone goes home. The Chixari transmitted detailed maps and tactical data. The Vethri homeworld was called Vethros Prime. It orbited a yellow star in a system with 7 planets. The main collection facility was on the surface. A massive biodome complex, covering hundreds of square miles. Defensive platforms surrounded the planet. Automated weapon systems. Shield generators. The Vethri had built their defenses, expecting someone might eventually come for revenge. They just hadn't expected humans. More alien species made contact over the following months. The Hreni sent flight patterns for navigating the defense perimeter. The Morthen shared information about Vethri, psychology, and command structure. Word spread through the galaxy. Humans were coming for their dogs, and they might actually succeed. Susan Blake was the intelligence officer. She was a sharp woman in her 30s with brown hair pulled back in a practical bun. She had served in military intelligence for 10 years. Her German shepherd named Bear had been her partner in the K9 unit before retiring. Bear was 8 years old when the Vethri took him, still strong and loyal. Susan missed him every day. She compiled all the incoming intelligence into a comprehensive database. The picture became clearer. The Vethri weren't warriors. They were collectors who relied on superior technology and automated defenses. They had never faced a determined, unified attack. They had never faced humans. They made a strategic mistake, Susan told Jake during a briefing. They chose to take the one thing that would absolutely unite Earth. If they'd asked to take samples of rare plants or insects, we might have negotiated and moved on. But they took dogs. They took the species that humanity has lived alongside for 30,000 years. They created an enemy that won't stop until the dogs come home. Training intensified as the fleet approached the halfway point. Alex Foster commanded a fighter squadron. He was 30 years old, a pilot with quick reflexes and steady hands. His boxer named Rocky had been his workout partner, the dog who jogged beside him every morning. Alex channeled his need to move, to act, to do something, into flying. His squadron practiced attack runs against simulated Vethri defenses. The fighters were small and fast, designed to slip through gaps in shields and deliver precise strikes. Alex trained his pilots hard, pushing them to their limits, because he knew the real battle would push even harder. Michelle Warren was the head medical officer and xenobiologist. She was in her 40s, with gray streaking through her dark hair and a calm manner that helped people relax. Her corgi named Button had been her constant companion through medical school and years of research. Button was small but fierce, and Michelle loved her completely. Michelle studied Vethri biology from the samples they left behind. She found vulnerabilities. The Vethri were adapted to their homeworld's conditions. Slightly lower gravity, higher oxygen content, less variation in temperature. Put them in Earth-like conditions, and they became slower and less coordinated. Make them fight, and their lack of recent combat experience became obvious. They're not warriors, Michelle told the senior staff. They're academics who happen to have good technology. In a straight fight, human soldiers will have the advantage. Kevin Ross was the fleet chaplain. He was a gentleman with kind eyes and gray hair, 55 years old, and wise from years of helping people through difficult times. His Labrador named Grace had helped him counsel troubled families and comfort the grieving. Grace had a talent for knowing who needed comfort most. Kevin felt her absence like a missing piece of his soul. He held services for different faiths and counseled crew members who struggled with the long journey. Many people felt guilty for missing their dogs so much when there were other problems in the universe. Kevin reminded them that love wasn't a limited resource. Caring about dogs didn't mean caring less about people. It meant being capable of profound connection, and that was worth defending. The final months of the journey were the hardest. Everyone knew combat was coming. Sleep became difficult. Training became more intense. The crew checked and rechecked every system, every weapon, every piece of equipment. Nothing could go wrong. Too much depended on success. Jake Morrison gathered his senior officers for final planning sessions. The tactical map showed the Vethri system in detail. 7 planets orbited a yellow star. Vethros Prime was the 4th planet, green and blue like Earth but slightly smaller. Red markers showed defensive platforms scattered throughout the system. The outer perimeter had 50 automated weapons stations. The middle zone had another 100. Close to the planet, defensive satellites numbered in the thousands. They've had centuries to build these defenses, Susan Blake said, pointing at the markers. Each platform has shields and multiple weapon types. They're designed to work together, covering each other's blind spots. How do we get through? Asked Laura Kent, a squadron commander. She was a tough woman in her 30s, with short dark hair and a fierce love for her pit bull named Zeus. Zeus was a rescue dog, saved from a fighting ring, who had learned to trust humans again. Laura wouldn't leave him in alien hands. We overwhelm them, Chris Hayes said. The old admiral studied the map with experienced eyes. They built defenses expecting traditional attacks, sequential assaults. Cautious, probing. We're not doing that. We're hitting them with everything at once. 200 ships, full attack, maximum aggression. We'll punch through before they can coordinate a proper defense. It'll be costly, Jake said quietly. We'll lose ships. We'll lose people. Everyone on this fleet knows that, Chris replied. They came anyway. The plan took shape. The fleet would drop out of faster-than-light travel at the system's edge. Immediately, they would launch the first wave of fighters to engage the outer platforms. The main fleet would follow, pushing through the middle zone at maximum speed. Once they reached orbit around Vethros Prime, ground forces would deploy to the collection facility, while the fleet held off any Vethri ships. It was a simple plan. Simple plans worked best in the chaos of battle. Ryan Martinez was aboard one of the assault ships. He had volunteered to join the ground forces. He was older than most soldiers, but he had combat experience, and he knew how to handle difficult situations. More importantly, he needed to be there when they found Buddy. He needed to see his dog again, with his own eyes. The ground force trained in the cargo bays, practicing rapid deployment and facility breaching. They studied the layout of the collection complex. They memorized entry points and probable locations of the dogs. They prepared for resistance, though intelligence suggested the Vethri facility staff were scientists, not soldiers. Sam Rodriguez led the ground force. He was a colonel with 20 years of service, a man who had led troops through the worst situations imaginable. His mastiff named Maggie had been his daughter's best friend. When Maggie disappeared, his daughter stopped talking for 2 weeks. Sam had promised her he would bring Maggie home. He intended to keep that promise. Remember, Sam told his troops, we're not there to destroy. not warriors. We subdue and secure, but we don't slaughter. We're better than that. We're not conquerors. We're a rescue mission. Kelly Torres was one of the squad leaders. She was 27 years old, strong and fast. With black hair braided tight to her head, her beagle named Charlie had helped her through depression after her brother died. Charlie's stubborn, loving personality had given her a reason to get up each day. She wasn't leaving Vethros Prime without him. 1 month before arrival, the Vethri sent another message. Kelthax appeared on screens throughout the fleet. He looked worried now, not smug like before. His large eyes seemed even larger, and his voice carried uncertainty. Human fleet, we detect your approach. Your intentions are clear. We wish to avoid conflict. We propose full return of all canines, immediate release, no conditions. We will transport them to a neutral location. We will provide restitution. Please acknowledge. The bridge crew looked at Jake. He sat in the command chair, thinking. It was everything they wanted. The dogs returned. No battle necessary. No lives lost. It should have been an easy decision. No, Jake said. His officers stared at him. Amy Peterson spoke up. Commander, they're offering to return the dogs. That's what we came for. They're offering to give back what they stole. Jake corrected. After 4 years. After making us cross the galaxy. After proving they could take whatever they want from us and face no consequences. If we accept now, what stops them from doing this again? What stops them from doing it to another species? He stood up and walked to the view screen showing Kelthax. You don't understand, do you? This isn't just about getting the dogs back. It's about making sure you never do this to anyone again. It's about justice. You took something precious and expected us to accept it. You're only offering to return them now because you're scared. That's not good enough. Jake turned to his crew. We continue as planned. We're not accepting their offer. We're taking our dogs back. And we're making sure the Vethri can never do this again. The crew nodded. Some looked relieved. They had come too far to turn back now. The final week arrived. The fleet ran constant drills. Fighter pilots practiced attack patterns until they could fly them perfectly. Gunners calibrated their weapons. Engineers ensured every system operated at peak efficiency. Medical bays prepared for casualties. The chaplain held services for those who wanted them. Nick Davis commanded the destroyer named Fury. He was 34 years old. A career naval officer who loved the precision and discipline of military service. His collie named Blaze had been his running partner and confidant. Nick felt Blaze's absence every morning when he went to exercise alone. Fury would be in the first wave, leading the charge through the outer defenses. It was a dangerous position, but Nick had volunteered. Someone had to go first. Someone had to take the risks that would let others through. We're the tip of the spear, Nick told his crew. We hit hard. We hit fast. And we make a hole. The rest of the fleet comes through behind us. Every platform we destroy is one less shooting at our friends and family. We do our job, and everyone gets their dogs back. Beth Andrews was the chief veterinarian. She was 45 years old, with gray hair and gentle hands that had treated thousands of animals. Her spaniel, named Rosie, had worked with her at a therapy animal program, visiting hospitals and nursing homes. Rosie had a gift for making sick people smile. Beth needed her back, and so did all the people Rosie had helped. Beth prepared the medical bays with everything needed to check the dogs once they were recovered. She had teams ready to assess each animal, provide any needed treatment, and wake them safely from stasis. She had supplies for 900 million dogs. It was an incredible logistical challenge, but Beth had spent 4 years planning for it. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at exactly 0600 hours on a Wednesday morning. The Vethri system spread before them, the yellow star, blazing bright. Sensors immediately detected the defensive platforms powering up. Targeting systems locked on. The battle was about to begin. Jake stood on the bridge of resolve, looking at the tactical display. Red markers multiplied as more defenses activated. The number of weapons pointed at his fleet was staggering. Some of his crew looked nervous. He understood. He was nervous too. "Fleet-wide broadcast," Jake ordered. His face appeared on every screen in every ship. 4 years ago, the Vethri came to Earth and took our dogs. They thought we'd just accept it. They were wrong. Today, we take them back. Today we show the galaxy that humanity doesn't abandon family. We love hard, and we fight harder. Every person on every ship knows the risks. We came anyway. For our dogs, for our bonds, for the principle that some things are worth everything. He paused, looking at the faces on his bridge, thinking about Scout and Buddy and Copper and Jazz and Maggie and Charlie and all the other dogs waiting to come home. "The Vethri are about to learn a hard lesson," Jake said. "You don't steal from humans. You don't take our dogs and think we'll forgive and forget. We remember. We care. And we're here." He looked at his tactical officer. "All ships. Begin." The A-space erupted into chaos. The outer defensive platforms opened fire, with dozens of different weapon types collected from across the galaxy. Energy beams cut through the darkness. Missiles streaked toward the incoming human fleet. Explosive rounds detonated in brilliant flashes of light. The human fighters met them head-on. Alex Foster led his squadron through the gauntlet. His fighter jinked and rolled, avoiding fire that would have torn through his shields. Around him, other pilots flew with desperate skill. Some weren't fast enough. Fighters exploded into debris. Each loss was a person who would never go home. But the survivors pressed forward. "Target the power nodes," Alex called over the communication channel. "Knock out their power and the weapons go silent." His squadron focused fire on a massive platform. Katie Silva's Hellfire missiles proved their worth. The first volley splashed against shields. The second volley, firing on a different frequency, punched through. Explosions rippled across the platform. Its weapons went dark. "One down," Alex said. 49 to go. The destroyer Fury was hit 3 times in the first minute. Nick Davis felt his ship shudder with each impact. Warning lights flashed across his console. Hull breaches in sections 4 and 7. Shield generators at 60% and dropping. But Fury kept moving forward, firing continuously at every target in range. "Concentrate fire on that cluster of platforms," Nick ordered. His weapons officer, a young man named Pete, worked his controls frantically. Fury's main guns blazed. The targeting AI created by Matt Jennings cycled through attack patterns faster than any Vethri shield could adapt. One platform's shields collapsed. Then another. Then a third. Fury pushed through the gap it created. Behind it, the main fleet followed, pouring through like water through a broken dam. The outer defensive line was breached. The Vethri command center on Vethros Prime was in chaos. Kelthax watched the tactical display in disbelief. The humans were succeeding. His defenses, built over centuries, were being overwhelmed by ships built in 2 years. It shouldn't be possible. "Deploy the defensive fleet," Kelthax ordered. 500 Vethri ships rose from the planet. They were sleek vessels with advanced shields and weapons collected from 100 civilizations. Each one was technologically superior to any human ship. But technology wasn't everything. The 2 fleets met in the middle zone. Human and Vethri ships tangled together in a massive brawl. The Vethri tried to maintain formation and fight in an organized manner. The humans fought like wolves, coordinating instinctively, covering each other, finding weaknesses, and exploiting them ruthlessly. Laura Kent commanded a squadron of heavy fighters. Her pit bull Zeus had taught her about loyalty and fighting spirit. Zeus was a rescue who overcame abuse to trust again. Now, Laura channeled that same fighting spirit into battle. Her squadron targeted a Vethri cruiser. The alien ship's shields were strong, built to withstand conventional attacks. But Katie's missiles were anything but conventional. They adapted, learning from each impact, finding frequencies the shields couldn't block. The cruiser's shields flickered, failed. Human weapons tore into its hull. "Keep pushing," Laura called to her pilots. "For every dog waiting for us down there." The battle raged for hours. Ships from both sides were destroyed. The space around Vethros Prime filled with debris and energy signatures. But slowly, steadily, the humans advanced. Their determination was absolute. Their coordination was perfect. They fought not just with weapons and technology, but with love and fury, and the knowledge that their family was waiting. Admiral Chris Hayes coordinated the fleet from Resolve. His decades of experience showed in every order. He moved ships like chess pieces, always 3 moves ahead, always finding the tactical advantage. When a group of Vethri ships tried to flank the human formation, Chris was ready with a countermove. When the aliens tried to concentrate their fire on human capital ships, he dispersed his forces and came at them from unexpected angles. The old admiral thought about Duke, his bloodhound, as he worked. Duke had been old and slow but loving and loyal. Chris had held Duke through thunderstorms and given him treats every evening. The Vethri had taken that bond and locked it away. They were paying for that mistake now. By the 6th hour of battle, the human fleet had orbital superiority. Half the Vethri ships were destroyed or disabled. The automated platforms that remained were being systematically eliminated. It was time for the ground assault. Sam Rodriguez stood in the landing craft with 200 soldiers. They wore assault armor and carried weapons designed for close combat. The craft shook as it descended through Vethros Prime's atmosphere. Anti-aircraft fire reached up toward them, but human fighters cleared a path, destroying the ground defenses. 2 minutes to landing, the pilot called back. Sam looked at his troops. Some were career soldiers. Some were volunteers who had never fought before but came anyway because their dogs needed them. All of them wore determined expressions. "Remember the mission," Sam said. "We secure the facility. We protect the specimens. We bring everyone home. Stay focused. Stay together. And stay human. We're not here to massacre. We're here to rescue." The landing craft touched down outside the collection facility. The massive biodome stretched for miles in every direction. Its transparent walls showed glimpses of the environments inside. The doors were sealed, but that wouldn't stop human soldiers carrying breaching charges. Ryan Martinez was in the first squad through the door. The facility staff, Vethri workers in light clothing designed for laboratory work, froze when armed humans poured in. They weren't warriors. They were academics who had never expected to face armed assault. "On the ground," Ryan ordered in a voice that expected obedience. The Vethri complied, dropping to the floor. Kelly Torres was faster, grabbing the alien's arm and pushing it down. "Don't," Kelly said. "We're not here to hurt you, but we will, if you make us." The facility was enormous, a maze of environmental chambers holding specimens from across the galaxy. The human teams moved quickly, securing each section. They found the Chixari crystalline symbionts in one chamber, beautiful geometric shapes that pulsed with inner light. They found Hreni flyers in another, graceful bird-like creatures with iridescent feathers. They found hundreds of species, each kept in perfect stasis, preserved but not living. And then they found the dogs. The chamber was massive, the largest in the facility. Row after row of stasis pods stretched into the distance, each one holding a sleeping dog. Big dogs and small dogs, working breeds and toy breeds, purebreds and mutts, 900 million pods, 900 million dogs, all waiting. Ryan Martinez stopped at the edge of the chamber. His breath caught. Tears ran down his face without shame. All around him, tough soldiers cried openly. They had crossed the galaxy for this. They had fought and bled and lost friends for this moment. "We found them," Ryan said into his communication device. His voice cracked with emotion. They're here. They're all here. On resolve, Jake Morrison received the message. Relief flooded through him so powerfully he had to sit down. They had done it. Against impossible odds, across 47 light-years, through defensive platforms and fleet battles, they had reached the dogs. Begin the awakening protocol, Jake ordered. Bring them home. Beth Andrews landed with the second wave. She rushed into the facility with her medical teams, already giving orders. The stasis pods needed to be carefully powered down. The dogs needed to wake gradually, with their vital signs monitored. It would take time, but they had time now. The battle was won. Beth moved through the rows of pods, checking displays and making notes. Her trained eye assessed each animal. They were all in perfect condition, exactly as they had been 4 years ago. The Vethri, for all their faults, had preserved them carefully. She found Rosie 3 hours into the search. Her spaniel slept peacefully in the pod, looking just as Beth remembered. Beth pressed her hand against the glass and smiled through her tears. I told you I'd come back, Beth whispered. I promised. The facility staff cooperated once they realized the humans weren't there to harm them. A Vethri scientist named Pelthon showed the medical teams how to safely deactivate the stasis fields. He seemed genuinely confused by the intensity of human emotion. They are animals, Pelthon said to Beth. Why such extremes for animals? Beth looked at him with eyes that had seen a lifetime of human-animal bonds. They're not just animals. They're pack members, partners, friends, family. The fact that you don't understand that is exactly why you shouldn't have taken them. The awakening began. One by one, carefully and methodically, the dogs were brought out of stasis. They woke, confused, disoriented, finding themselves in a strange place with strange smells. But then they saw their humans, heard familiar voices, and everything else faded away. Ryan Martinez was there when Buddy woke. The German Shepherd's eyes opened slowly. He lifted his head, uncertain. Then, he caught Ryan's scent. Recognition flooded his face. Buddy tried to stand too quickly, stumbled, and Ryan caught him, pulling the dog into a fierce embrace. I got you, Ryan said, holding Buddy close. I'm here. I came for you. I promised I'd always come for you. Buddy leaned into Ryan, making the soft sounds of a dog greeting his person after a long absence. His tail wagged weakly. 4 years had passed for Ryan, but for Buddy, it was like waking from a nap. His human was here. Similar scenes played out across the facility. Soldiers reuniting with military working dogs, children holding their first pets again, elderly people crying with joy as service dogs licked their faces. The sound of happy barking filled the air, the best sound any human in that facility had heard in 4 years. Jake Morrison watched from the command center as reports came in. The facility was secured. The dogs were being awakened. Casualties had been significant, but not catastrophic. 40 ships lost. 3,000 soldiers dead. It was a heavy price, but everyone who came had known the risks. Kelly Torres found Charlie in the 3rd hour of searching. The beagle woke up and immediately started howling, confused and upset. Kelly scooped him up, holding his compact body close. It's okay, buddy, Kelly said. You're okay. We're going home. The days following the battle were organized chaos. The collection facility became a temporary base for the human forces. Medical teams worked around the clock, awakening dogs in carefully controlled batches. Each animal needed time to adjust, needed to be checked for health issues, needed to reconnect with their humans. Jake Morrison established communication with Earth. The transmission took time to cross 47 light-years, but the message was simple and joyful. They had succeeded. The dogs were safe. Everyone was coming home. But there was more work to do. Jake remembered his promise to Vex Thor and the other alien species who had helped them. He found Kelthax in the facility's main office, the Vethri leader under guard, but unharmed. We need access to all your records, Jake said. "Every species you've collected from, every specimen you're holding." Kelthax's large eyes blinked slowly. "The archive is extensive. It represents 10,000 years of preservation work. It represents 10,000 years of theft," Jake corrected. "You're going to help us return everything you took. Every being that wants to go home, goes home." Amy Peterson led a team through the Vethri database. The scale was staggering. Millions of specimens from thousands of worlds. Most were simple organisms, plants and insects and microbes, but hundreds of entries were sapient beings or the companions of sapient beings. Each one had been taken, preserved, and kept away from their homes and families. "This is going to take months to sort out," Amy said, staring at the displays. But she smiled as Copper slept at her feet, the golden retriever refusing to leave her side now that they were reunited. Jake contacted Vex Thor and the other alien allies. "We're honoring our agreement. Tell us what was taken from you, and we'll help you get them back." The response was immediate and emotional. Species across the galaxy, who had filed complaints for decades with no results, suddenly had hope. Ships began arriving, representatives coming to reclaim their lost people and companions. Diane Foster was a logistics officer who had the enormous task of organizing the returns. She was 31 years old, efficient and organized, with brown hair always pulled into a neat ponytail. Her retriever named Max had helped her through anxiety, his calm presence making her feel safe. Max was back now, sleeping under her desk as she worked. Diane created schedules and shipping manifests. The Chikshari came first, their crystalline symbionts loaded carefully into specialized containers. The reunion between the Chikshari and their partners was beautiful to watch. The crystallines resonated with harmonic frequencies, and the Chikshari made sounds of pure joy. The Reni arrived to reclaim their flyers. The bird-like creatures emerged from stasis and immediately took flight, circling their bonded partners in aerial displays of celebration. The Morthan came for their telepathic companions, small, fuzzy creatures who communicated through thought. The reunions were quiet, but deeply emotional. Species after species came. Each one thanked the humans. Each one shared their story of loss and the years of grief. Each one left with gratitude and respect for the newcomers who had done what others wouldn't. The question of justice remained. What to do with the Vethri? Lisa Hammond arrived from Earth with a delegation of diplomats and legal experts. The trial of Kelthax and the Vethri leadership became the first major legal proceeding in galactic history. Representatives from 50 affected species attended. The charges were clear: mass kidnapping, disregard for sapient rights, and crimes against peaceful species. Kelthax tried to defend his actions. "We preserved them. We kept them safe. Our archive protected species from extinction, documented biodiversity, contributed to galactic knowledge." Jake Morrison stood as the primary witness. "You never asked permission. You never considered the emotional and social bonds you were breaking. You saw beings you deemed less important and decided their value to their families was secondary to your scientific curiosity. That's not preservation. That's theft, with a noble-sounding excuse." Ryan Martinez also testified. He brought Buddy with him, the German shepherd sitting calmly at his side. "My dog helped me survive post-traumatic stress. He gave me a reason to live when I didn't want to anymore. The Vethri took him and thought they were just collecting an animal specimen. They didn't understand they were destroying a lifeline. How many others lost their lifelines? How many children lost their therapy dogs? How many elderly people lost their only companions?" The tribunal deliberated for 3 days. The verdict was unanimous: guilty on all charges. The sentence was designed not for punishment, but for prevention. The Vethri would dismantle their collection apparatus. The facility would be converted into a center for interspecies communication and cooperation, managed by representatives from the affected species. The Vethri would share their technology freely, no longer hoarding advancements from across the galaxy. They would serve as facilitators, not collectors. Kelthax accepted the sentence with visible relief. He had expected worse. He had expected execution or imprisonment. Instead, the galaxy chose rehabilitation over revenge. You will spend the rest of your life helping instead of taking, the tribunal's lead judge told Kelthax. You will use your skills to bring species together instead of tearing them apart. Perhaps in time, you will understand what you did wrong. The human fleet prepared to return home. The journey would take 2 years again. But this time, they traveled with joy instead of grim determination. The ships were crowded now. 900 million dogs spread across 200 vessels meant tight quarters, but no one complained. The sound of barking and the sight of wagging tails made every inconvenience worthwhile. Chris Hayes stood on the Bridge of Resolve as the fleet prepared to depart. Duke, his old bloodhound, lay at his feet, snoring peacefully. The dog was older now, slower, but still the same loyal companion. Chris reached down and scratched Duke's ears. Worth it, Chris said to Jake. Every battle, every loss, worth it for this. The journey home became a celebration that lasted 2 years. Crew members who had worked in tight-lipped determination now laughed and played with their dogs. Training exercises continued. But now, they included dogs running through the corridors, playing fetch in the cargo bays, and sleeping in bunks with their humans. Katie Silva spent her off hours with Jazz, the border collie who was thrilled to have space to run again. Even on a ship, Jazz found ways to be active. Katie set up agility courses in empty cargo spaces. Other crew members brought their dogs to watch and participate. It became a regular event, a reminder of normal life. The ships passed the halfway point. Earth sent messages of welcome. Plans were made for the arrival. Every nation wanted to celebrate. Every city planned parades. But most people just wanted their dogs home, wanted to return to the simple normalcy of daily walks and belly rubs and the comfort of a loyal companion. Matt Jennings spent evenings with Sonny, his yellow Labrador. His son, back on Earth, sent videos every week. The boy was doing better now, knowing his dog was coming home. Matt watched the videos with Sonny's head in his lap, feeling grateful for the bond that had brought them across the galaxy. Ben Carter, the scientist who had tracked the Vethri, worked with his colleagues to study the alien technology they had encountered. The data would advance human science by decades, but Ben's favorite moments were playing with his dog, a mixed breed named Scout, who had endless energy and boundless joy. We learned a lot from this, Ben said during one of the science briefings. Not just about alien technology, but about ourselves. We learned that humanity can unite completely when we fight for something we love. We learned that our bonds with dogs, bonds we've built over 30,000 years, make us stronger, not weaker. The Vethri saw those bonds as a curiosity to study. We know they're a source of strength. The fleet approached Earth in the 4th year after the dogs were taken. Sensors detected the blue and green planet from days away. The sight brought tears to many eyes. They had left home in grief and anger. They returned in triumph and joy. Earth orbit was crowded with ships waiting to welcome them home. Every nation had sent vessels. Military craft flew alongside civilian transports. Space stations displayed messages of thanks and celebration. The entire planet watched as the Retribution force came home. The landing process took weeks. Each ship had to descend carefully. Each dog had to be processed through quarantine, despite being in perfect health. Each family had to be reunited properly. But it happened. One by one, dogs returned to their homes. Sophie's daughter got Bailey back, the service dog who helped her cope with crowds. The girl hugged her dog and didn't let go for an hour. Henry received Daisy, his beagle, and took her home to the empty house that suddenly felt full again. Veterans across the world reunited with their service dogs, feeling pieces of themselves slot back into place. Nick Davis retired from military service. He adopted a dog who had lost its human in the battle, a young shepherd who needed a new home. Nick named the dog Scout, after Jake Morrison's terrier, and started a new life helping other veterans connect with dogs. Laura Kent continued her work with pit bull rescue. Zeus became famous, the face of a breed often misunderstood. Zeus's story, from abuse victim to loyal companion, to the dog who inspired his human to cross the galaxy, touched millions of people. Jake Morrison stood in his backyard on a quiet afternoon, 6 months after returning home. Scout chased a ball across the grass, barking happily. The terrier was older now, moving a bit slower, but still full of the joy that made dogs special. Jake's wife came out and handed him a drink. "Any regrets?" she asked. Jake watched Scout pounce on the ball and bring it back, tail wagging. He thought about the 4-year journey. The battles fought. The friends lost. The incredible effort it took to cross the galaxy and bring the dogs home. "No regrets," Jake said. "We did what needed to be done." The incident became known across the galaxy as the Dog War. It reshaped interspecies politics completely. The Galactic Council, which had been mostly ceremonial, gained real authority. New laws were passed protecting the rights of all beings, not just those advanced enough to travel between stars. The casual taking of specimens ended. Species began communicating and cooperating instead of just observing each other from a distance. Humanity earned a seat on the Galactic Council. Other species viewed humans with a mixture of respect and wariness. The newcomers had proven they would back their values with action. They had shown that some bonds were worth fighting for, even across the vast distances of space. In the council chambers, a plaque was installed. It read, "They took Earth's dogs. Humanity came with everything. Let this be remembered. Some species collect, others protect. Humanity does both." Ryan Martinez wrote a book about his experience. It became required reading in military academies across Earth. The core message was simple: fight for what matters. Honor your bonds. Amy Peterson continued her work as a xenobiologist. But now she studied how different species formed emotional bonds. Her research helped the galaxy understand that connection wasn't a weakness, but a strength. Copper remained her constant companion and occasional research subject. The dog, who had inspired humanity's greatest journey. Susan Blake trained a new generation of intelligence officers. She taught them about the Vethri mistake. Never underestimate what beings will do for those they love. Bear, her German shepherd, became the unofficial mascot of the Intelligence Academy. The dogs themselves lived their lives unaware of the incredible effort made to save them. They didn't know about the battles fought, or the technology developed, or the unity achieved. They just knew their humans had come for them. They knew they were loved. They knew they were home. And that, in the end, was what mattered most. Not the military victory, or the galactic politics, or the technological advancement. What mattered was that 900 million dogs were back with their families. What mattered was that the bond between humans and dogs, forged over thousands of years, had proven unbreakable, even across the distances of space. Humanity had gone to war for its dogs. The galaxy would remember that forever. But more importantly, every child who played fetch with their dog, every veteran who felt calm with their service dog nearby, every person who came home to a wagging tail and unconditional love, they knew the truth. Some bonds are sacred, some family is forever, and humanity will cross the stars to protect both. The story ended not with grand pronouncements or political changes, but with millions of quiet moments. Dogs sleeping on beds beside their humans. Families walking together in parks. Veterans sleeping peacefully with their partners nearby. Elderly people feeling less alone. Children learning about loyalty and love from their four-legged friends. The Vethri had taken Earth's dogs, thinking they were just animals worth preserving. They learned, as the galaxy learned, that to humans, dogs were so much more. They were pack. They were partners. They were the beings who loved unconditionally and asked only for love in return. And humanity had proven, beyond any doubt, that such bonds were worth everything. Charlie stopped howling. He sniffed Kelly's face, recognized her, and his whole body wiggled with joy. Kelly laughed through her tears, kissing the top of his head repeatedly. On Earth, the news spread instantly. The dogs were found. The dogs were safe. Humanity had succeeded. Streets erupted in celebration. People hugged strangers. Nations that had worked together in unprecedented cooperation celebrated their shared victory. But in the Vethri facility on Vethros Prime, the focus was simpler. Humans were reuniting with their dogs. Bonds that had been severed were restored. Promises made were promises kept. They had crossed the galaxy. They had fought through impossible odds. And now, finally, they were bringing their family home. Tech. The fleet surged forward. Fighter squadrons launched, thousands of small craft screaming toward the outer defensive platforms. The Vethri defenses opened fire, filling space with energy beams and projectiles. The battle for humanity's dogs had begun. On the destroyer Fury, Nick Davis smiled grimly as his ship shook from incoming fire. On Resolve, Jake Morrison gripped his command chair and watched his people fly into danger. On the cargo bay, Ryan Martinez checked his weapon and thought about Buddy. In the medical bay, Beth Andrews prepared to receive 900 million patients. The human fleet had crossed the galaxy. They had built weapons and trained soldiers and unified completely. They had come for their dogs, and nothing would stop them from bringing their family home. As the second year of travel began, Jake felt the mood on the ship shift. The grief had transformed into focused determination. The crew wasn't sad anymore. They were ready. They had trained. They had prepared. They had weapons and plans and intelligence. Now, they just needed to arrive. Jake stood in his quarters one night, looking at a photo of Scout. The little terrier stared up at the camera with bright eyes and a happy expression. Jake remembered the day he adopted Scout from the shelter. The dog had been scared and alone. Jake had given him a home. Scout had given Jake companionship and joy and unquestioning loyalty. "I'm coming," Jake said to the photo. The fleet pushed forward through the dark between stars, carrying humanity's determination across the void. Behind them, Earth waited and hoped. Ahead of them, the Vethri system grew slowly closer, and somewhere in that system, 900 million dogs slept in stasis, unaware that their humans had crossed the galaxy to bring them home. D, named Duke, had been his companion for 12 years. When Duke disappeared, Chris felt it like a physical wound. He was placed in charge of fleet operations. He looked at the 200 ships being built and knew they might not be enough. The Vethri had been traveling space for thousands of years. They had technology and weapons humanity couldn't match. But Chris also knew something about humans. They fought harder when they fought for love. They took risks others wouldn't take. They didn't quit when things got difficult. "We're not going to match them in technology," Chris told his officers. "We're going to overwhelm them with determination. We're going to show them that you don't steal from humanity. You don't take our dogs and fly away thinking we'll forget. We remember. We love. And we're coming. Number G." Jake thought about Scout, his little terrier who slept on the bed and barked at squirrels, and always knew when Jake was sad. The phone lines were overwhelmed. Every government building was surrounded by crowds. People weren't just sad. They were angry. This wasn't like losing a possession. Dogs weren't property. They were family members. Children were crying for their best friends. Veterans were lost without the service dogs who helped them cope with trauma. Elderly people who lived alone felt like their only companion had been ripped away. Jake walked to the window and looked up at the empty sky. The Vethri thought they were just collectors. They thought dogs were just another species to catalog and store. They had no idea what they had actually done. They had made a mistake. A terrible mistake. They had united humanity in a way nothing else ever had. Not war, not peace, not any crisis in history. Every human on Earth suddenly wanted the same thing. They wanted their dogs back, and they would do whatever it took to get them.